Okay, let's dive into this. When we think about modern warfare, our minds usually jump straight to the mud and the grit, right? We picture roaring fighter jets, heavy tanks rolling across the terrain, and the chaotic clash of the front lines. But here's the thing. The most critical battle space today, it's not on the ground, it's not on the water, it's not even in the atmosphere. It is literally hundreds of miles above our heads in the silent vacuum of space. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to dissect this unseen battlefield and figure out exactly how satellites have become the absolute rulers of modern conflict. So, what are we actually talking about here? Basically, a military satellite is a man-made spacecraft orbiting the Earth. But tactically, they are the crucial eyes, ears, and nervous system for any modern operation. See, winning wars today takes way more than just amassing a bunch of tanks and jets. You could literally have the most technologically advanced ground force in human history, but without this vital, unseen orbital infrastructure backing you up, that force is effectively paralyzed. Here is our roadmap for today's analysis. We'll start with the unseen battlefield, then break down the 5 pillars of space warfare. After that, we'll look at real-world proof from Ukraine, uncover the surprisingly vulnerable Achilles heel of all this tech, and finally, peer into the AI-powered future. All right, moving into the 5 pillars of space warfare, or as I kind of like to think of them, the superpowers granted from orbit. Each of these acts like a unique, vital sensory organ for a military force. The reality here is pretty stark. Ground warfare without space is completely blind and deaf. It's an unbelievable contrast when you really think about it. Down in the dirt, warfare is all chaos, mud, friction, and confusion. But high above, the systems guiding that conflict operate with this cold, clinical, pinpoint precision. Modern forces absolutely rely on 5 key orbital functions just to survive the day and actually strike their targets. Let's systematically break down the first 3 of these pillars. First up, reconnaissance. The spy eyes. They spot troops, hidden stockpiles, and bases. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer level of detail. I mean, they can resolve objects down to just a few meters in size, from literally hundreds of miles out in space. Second is communication, the nerves. If ground lines get severed in the heat of battle, command centers on the total opposite side of the planet can still relay instant, global orders via space. And third, GPS and navigation, the targeting. Global positioning systems do way more than just drop a pin on a map. They guide smart bombs and cruise missiles with such pinpoint accuracy that they rarely ever miss. Okay, moving to pillar number 4, early warning. Picture this terrifying but incredibly crucial chain reaction. Step 1, an adversary launches a nuclear missile. Step 2, almost instantly, highly sensitive infrared sensors on early warning satellites detect that massive burst of heat from the rocket's exhaust. Step 3, that data is flashed right back to Earth, prepping defense systems. And Step 4, a counterattack or interception kicks off. In this scenario, we are talking milliseconds. That incredible speed of data transmission in space directly translates to millions of lives saved on the ground. And that brings us to the 5th and final pillar, weather monitoring. Now, I know it might sound kind of mundane compared to spotting nukes, but it is absolutely essential. Even with the absolute best high-tech gear, nature ultimately dictates the success of a battle. Heavy rain, snow, high winds, they can ground your drones, stall a tank advance, and completely ruin visibility. So orbital weather tracking, monitoring shifting cloud cover, measuring precise atmospheric conditions, is a foundational requirement before planning any major operation. Let's look at real-world proof in Ukraine to see space warfare in action today. This isn't theoretical anymore. It's a very visceral, urgent, modern reality. The conflict in Ukraine has dramatically proven the absolute necessity of this space infrastructure. Just look at the role of commercial satellite internet networks. When traditional comms were targeted and wiped out under heavy fire, these satellite systems stepped right in and literally became the unbreakable backbone of combat operations. They did 3 critical things. They maintained comms for troops under relentless attack. They enabled the remote, real-time control of those drones that have really defined this conflict. And they constantly relayed crucial operational data back and forth from the front lines. But it wasn't just about the military forces fighting the war. The source material notes that commercial satellite images brought the battlefield to the global public. And this brilliantly illustrates a really profound shift in modern conflict. Space tech didn't just quietly guide the military behind the scenes, it fundamentally shaped global awareness. High-res imagery of troop movements and conflict zones wasn't just locked away in some secret intelligence briefing somewhere. It was broadcast to the world, shaping public opinion and international response in real time. Which brings us to the Achilles heel, the fragility of orbital supremacy. Just when you think these systems make an army totally invincible, we have to talk about their critical vulnerabilities. When you compare these two realities side by side, the paradox of modern space warfare becomes pretty obvious. On one hand, you have orbital invincibility, global reach, unmatched situational awareness, and pinpoint targeting accuracy. It's incredible. But on the other hand, you have orbital fragility. These multi-million-dollar machines floating out in the void are highly susceptible to invisible attacks. They're effectively impossible to repair once they're up there, and they represent massive single points of failure. If an adversary takes just one out, that massive advantage vanishes instantly. So, how exactly do you blind the unseen battlefield? There are three main threats here. First, jamming. This is using ground-based equipment to blast noise and disrupt satellite signals, drowning out legitimate comms. Second, cyber attacks. Why blow up a satellite if you can simply hack its control systems, turn it off, or steal the data, right? And third, anti-satellite weapons, or ASATs. This is the brute force approach, launching a kinetic weapon from Earth to physically smash the spacecraft into thousands of pieces of space debris. The loss of even a single key satellite creates this catastrophic domino effect for ground forces. It is not just a technical glitch, it's a massive tactical disaster. A destroyed satellite can trigger a total communication blackout across a huge sector. That's followed by a complete failure of GPS and navigation, meaning those smart bombs suddenly become dumb, and troops completely lose their bearings. And finally, an immediate loss of critical reconnaissance data. Just like that, in the blink of an eye, the most advanced fighting force on the planet is rendered utterly deaf and blind. But we aren't stopping there. Let's look over the horizon to the AI-powered future, where satellites actually get a brain. We are moving incredibly fast from passive tools to active thinkers. Integrating artificial intelligence is bringing automated intelligence directly to orbit. In the very near future, satellites won't just beam raw photos back to analysts on Earth to review hours later. Nope, onboard AI will automatically identify enemy vehicles straight from orbit. It'll instantly classify and target new threats the second they appear, and it will even provide real-time tactical recommendations straight to field commanders. The speed of decision-making is about to go off the charts. And to combat that massive vulnerability of single points of failure, the whole architecture of space is changing. So the crucial point is this number right here: thousands. Future military power won't rely on a handful of large, vulnerable targets. Instead, it's going to depend on mega constellations containing thousands of smaller AI-powered satellites working together as a swarm. So if an enemy shoots down one, 10 more instantly and seamlessly pick up the slack. Let's quickly summarize the core truth of our explainer today. Satellites have evolved from simple, supportive tools to becoming the absolute eyes, ears, brain, and nervous system of modern warfare. Think about it. A soldier on the ground cannot see over the horizon, but a satellite can. A general cannot hear communications across the globe without the orbital relays making it possible. This unseen layer of infrastructure is unequivocally the most important, determining factor in any modern conflict. Which leaves us with a pretty profound question to consider. As nations push beyond the ground, the sea, and the air, and as global superpowers pour billions into a fierce race to dominate orbit, is space the final battlefield? Thank you for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.